Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Askamy. I have a question today from Salma. Salma says, I'd like to thank you for your work, which is amazing and so helpful. First, some background to my question. She says, accepting the idea that we're not in control was difficult for me as a scientist. Determinism is the only way the universe can and does work according to physics, and physics is the unalterable language of the universe. But this reality can sometimes induce a sense of hopelessness in me. Although I think the universe is beautiful, I sometimes think I'm not in control, so what's the point? I'm a slave to the laws of physics. What's freeing about that? Some days someday my loved ones will die and nothing of them will remain. We're all going to die and eventually so will the universe. Isn't that such a lonely thing? I can see how all of this is human thought, but I don't see how an opposite statement, like I'm not in control and that is such a freeing thing, or being able to observe the universe as a conscious being is a beautiful thing, is not thought too. Okay, so I'm going to get to her question, but Salma would just say, those are thoughts. You don't have to see how they aren't thoughts, because those sound like thoughts too. Okay, so she says a short version of my question, and there's a few questions in here, would be, when you say that our natural state is peace and love, isn't that thought too? If feelings can only be induced by a thought, and peace and love are positive feelings, how is that going to the space beyond thought? Isn't there just nothingness or neutrality beyond thought? Otherwise, couldn't my sense of hopelessness be considered to be beyond thought too? Okay, I'm going to pull these out one by one because they're excellent questions. So she says, first, when you say that our natural state is peace and love, isn't that thought too? Yes, that is thought. So don't believe it. Look for yourself. So anything, and if I were to say, and I'm sure I've said it, that our natural state is peace and love. I'm sure I've said that at some point. That is my thought in a moment. That's not me giving a fact. That's me giving a pointer to something that feels true to me. So absolutely, you're right. That is my thought. So always everything should be prefaced with, don't believe me. Take a pointer and see what you see about it. And don't believe anyone, I would say. Anyone. No science, no teacher, none of it. Let everything you take in from anywhere be a pointer for you to be curious rather than taking it as a truth or a fact, because someone else's truth or fact means nothing for you. So you're right. If I were to say your natural state is peace and love, those are just concepts. That's just language. That's just concepts. But pointing to something, perhaps, that you can kind of take that and look in that direction for yourself. Then you can see something that is beyond thought for yourself. But I can't give you beyond thought. I can't give you that. No one can give you that. No one can give anyone that. That makes sense? Like, all we give each other is thought. All we give each other is language. That's all that's possible. But in that thought and languages are some pointers for each of us to explore for ourselves. So because I've probably said in the past that it feels, and I don't say that so much anymore, but that it feels like peace and love is there beyond all of this. I mean, yeah, that does totally feel true to me. Yeah, again, it's just a pointer. So this one's good. So your next question is, if feelings can only be induced from thought, which I'm not sure about, but we'll set that aside, and peace and love are positive feelings, how is that going to the space beyond thought? So such a good question. So if I were to say beyond thought for me, this is your pointer, you check this out for yourself, but what's there beyond all of this conceptual, when we're not caught up in the conceptual, when all of that seems to kind of just settle? If there's something that feels like peace or love, I don't mean that as a feeling. I'm not saying there's a feeling of peace and love. Not like an experience, because that wouldn't be beyond thought. You're absolutely right in how you asked the question. That would not be. That would be experience. That would be what comes and goes. So here's a better distinction in this that might be helpful. Beyond thought, in a sense, again, that's just a concept too. We're not being super literal here, but that's a pointer. This beyond thought thing is a pointer to look, you might say, at what does not change. because we know that thoughts and feelings and experiences and identities and everything physical, everything that the law of physics covers, all of it is constantly changing. So we can kind of look at like what doesn't change, what has always been here, what is always here, what has always been here, what has been present in every single moment, in every experience, in every feeling, in every thought, all the time. That can be a helpful place, again, just as a pointer to kind of look when we're talking about beyond thought, because beyond thought, again, that's kind of it's not a very literal statement, but it's just like, that just means beyond all the comings and goings of everything else, beyond everything that feels so temporary. Is there something that doesn't feel temporary? Is there something that has always been here? It's a great place to look. So I wouldn't talk about peace and love as your natural state. There's no feeling that is your natural state, because feeling by definition is constantly moving and changing, and it always will be. So will thought, experience, who you think you are, identities, all of it, except for whatever doesn't change. So look at that for yourself. Okay. And then she says, isn't there just nothingness or neutrality beyond thought? I don't know. You look and see what you see. There is no answer there is no like, here's what's there beyond thought that we could put into words and conceptualize, because words and concepts are thought. It's ineffable, it's indescribable. And it's something that we don't need to describe it and nail it down when we feel it ourselves, when we look through ourselves. So again, if it feels like nothingness and neutrality, that's fine, but you see for yourself. Don't take someone else's word for it. See what you see. And if that's what it feels like you discover there, great. And hold that very loosely too. It doesn't mean that is what's there. You I don't know. You just check it out for yourself. And the thing about these explorations, at a certain point, I think they start to become kind of just self-evident. Like, we wouldn't check it with anyone else. We wouldn't need to define it or anything. You just kind of start to know what you know. And maybe that's not a great way of saying it, but keep exploring with curiosity. You know how to do this. You're a scientist. Explore with a super open mind, with curiosity, from a place of, I have no clue. I know these people might say this and those people say that, and none of that matters. I'm doing this for myself. I'm looking. I'm going in dumb. I'm going in from I don't know. I'm going in with curiosity, and I just want to see what's actually here. And when thought comes in and says, oh, it's neutrality, okay, but that's a thought. That's a thought. That thought can come and go. That thought could be something else in the next second. So don't believe the thought, but keep looking at what is there beyond thought. And again, it's self-evident. It doesn't need description. It doesn't need labels. So the second part of that was, otherwise, if it's not nothingness and neutrality, otherwise, couldn't my sense of hopelessness be considered to be beyond thought too? So no, it couldn't, because hopelessness comes and goes, right? You look for yourself. Don't trust me. Look for yourself and see if a sense of hopelessness falls in the category of something that is always here, completely immutable, inchangeable, has always been here every single moment that you have felt alive. If hopelessness seems that stable, then sure, maybe that's beyond thought, and then we can be curious about that. But if you don't constantly feel this sense of hopelessness, then it is probably in the category of thought, feeling, experience, right? It's in what comes and goes. See that? So that's where that distinction I mentioned a minute ago is really helpful. What cannot change? What is not manipulated? What is not manipulatable? What is always here and has always been here? It's a huge, huge question, a huge place to look. Don't ask that question looking for an answer, per se. Like, you're not going to get an answer necessarily that you can describe back in words, but ask that question from curiosity, from openness. Just really, it's more in the question, just really wanting to see what's there. Like, when I look at that, what has been here my entire life, as long as I've ever known, in every single moment, in every experience, in every thought, in every feeling, I cannot describe it to you. I can't tell you, but I have a sense of it. And I go back there and sit in that sense of it at times and just get familiar with it. So do that. That'll show you what's beyond thought. And then when you think you're there, notice, like maybe it does come and go. Again, your mind might say, oh, there's an awareness. There's an aliveness. Okay. But awareness and aliveness are thoughts. We know it's not a thought. So it's not awareness, aliveness. Those are the pointers. Keep it, and that's fine. They're fine. Use pointers, but be in the feeling of what those pointers are looking toward. That's kind of what we're curious about. And then one other thing from Salma's question I want to point out. Earlier in the question, she says, I'm not in control, so what's the point? And that just jumps out at me. She says, I'm a slave to the laws of physics. What's freeing about that? And again, for you, Salma, like you have to see this. So when you say that, how I hear it, like I'm not in control, so what's the point? I mean, did the point before feel like you were in control? Like was the point of life for you, I'm in control, I'm making everything happen, and this is the point of life? If so, great, see that. And then you're right, kind of seeing, wait a minute, maybe I'm not in control, that's going to bring some stuff up. But if the point of life before, like when you were 5, I'm guessing the point of life was not that you felt in control. I mean, this kind of sounds like a thought to me. So you see what's there for you. Maybe it was never about control. Maybe being a slave to the laws of physics, I don't know. I can feel that as incredibly freeing. I don't have to try to do so much. It's all kind of happening. It's not on me. But again, those are my thoughts. Just like your initial questions. That's not the answer. That's not the answer at all. That's just how that looks to me. So you look there. Take your pointers, take these pointers and let that open up something for you. If the laws of physics are running the show, what does that say about who you are? And again, this is more in the question than any answers you're going to discover. What does that say about who and what we truly are? What is always here, beyond thought, beyond experience, beyond feeling, if that's the case, if there is no control. So just, these are huge, huge questions, and they're really good. Like they really tend to be helpful and not always comfortable in the immediate term. They're not always comfortable questions to ask as you're seeing. I love your whole email to me, because you're seeing, wait a minute, this is like not what I thought it was, and it's bringing up lots of stuff. That's great, but they tend to pay off. They tend to be questions when we just ask them with curiosity and an open mind, and we're not looking for a specific answer. We're just in the exploration of it. Questions that show us so much that really do pay off. So I just encourage you to keep asking them. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you so much for sending your question. I love it. I love these really thoughtful questions. I can tell that you've sat with this quite a bit already, and just keep doing that. So thanks everyone for listening. I'll see you back here next week.